Alright, it's time for me to come clean. I've been having an affair. I slept with her last night. In fact, I've slept with her 4 nights this month. Sometimes we invite other people to come join us. I like to think that we're exclusive, but I know thousands of people sleep with her every year. My wife knows all about it. We have an open relationship. In fact, she thinks that it's good for our relationship that I get away now and then. She's big, she's beautiful. She's great for business. Well, she's beautiful. You don't want to mess with her when she's upset. The object of my affection is Lake Superior. It's late October. It's a perfect 50 degrees. The sun is out. The autumn leaves are popping. And I'm joining you from the Porcupine Mountains Wilderness area located in the Upper Peninsula of Michigan along the southern border of Lake Superior. This is a state park. It's the largest state park in Michigan. It has over 60,000 acres. 90 miles of hiking trails and 63 backcountry campsites. Man, I love backpacking. On day one, I started on the east side of the Encarpment Trail, made my way past the Lake of Clouds, circled around to the Lake Superior Trail, and made my way up to LS12 campsite. I'm walking east to west on the most popular trail here in the area. It's called the Encarpment Trail. It's only a few miles long, but it follows this long bank, an escarpment, with a river down there. And on the west side there is a lake called the Lake of Clouds. And there's a lookout down at the end of there that's probably the most popular area in the park. So here's an angle where you can actually see the escarpment a little better. You can see, first of all, the creek and the awesome view over there. Then you can see the cliff going along the side of the mountain there. And that's kind of where the trail kind of leads all along that cliff overlooking this valley. Lake of the Clouds, Encarpment Trail. Man, I love backpacking. It's definitely going to be dark by the time I get to camp because I'm going about a mile per hour because I keep on stopping because it's just so beautiful out here with the cliff and the colors. Lake of the Clouds, Lake Superior. Beautiful up here, but it's about 4:30 here Eastern time, and I have to do a short road walk and then do about 6 miles on the Lake Superior Trail before I get to camp tonight, so I need to start hiking. So in the state park they offer something kind of unique. All over in the park they have a number of these rustic cabins, and this is the buckshot cabin that's right near Lake Superior. But what makes it unique is, I don't think there's any roads going to it. So I don't know if they brought the materials to build that cabin in by foot or by boat on the lake or what, but it's kind of neat that you can get a cabin like that that's 3 miles out here in the woods, isolated by itself. Well, I made it to LS12 just in time for the sunset behind me. It's beautiful, but I need to go to camp and get my hammock set up and eat some dinner. Relaxing out here on Lake Superior until disaster struck. I spilled my ramen. No worries, I have plenty of food. My biggest concern is attracting bears, so I'm going to clean that up as well as I can. Wash it up with some water from the lake. And I have a new snack I'm trying tonight. It is chocolate spread and peanut butter spread on a tortilla. Delicious. When Taco Bell comes out with this in a couple months, I want my cut. If I'm reading my map correctly, Canada and Thunder Bay is right over there. See if I can say good morning to my friend Toots in Thunder Bay.
Hello, friends.
Here's a tour of LS12, my campsite. The LS, of course, stands for Lakeside. The main trail coming through, just off the trail, you can see there's a couple of benches, a fire ring out of some steel that looks like a culvert. There is a trail that goes probably 50 feet down to the lake over there. Over here is where I have my hammock set up. Unique to this campsite is there's actually a platform here that I set up over the top of. So it's a relatively small campsite. You'd only be able to fit 2 or 3 tents or hammocks in here, but it gets the job done. There's no latrine at these campsites, so you need to dig a cat hole, but it's nice. I wouldn't say it's any nicer than the campsites on the Superior Hiking Trail, but it works. On day 2, I hiked a few miles down the Lake Superior Trail and got onto the Big Carp Trail before hiking up to the Correction Line Trail and circling back around Mirror Lake to camp. I made it to the mouth of the Big Carp River. I'm going to go off of the Superior Trail onto the Big Carp River Trail now for a few miles. The Big Carp River feeds directly into Lake Superior. And also at the mouth of the Big Carp is the Big Carp River Cabin. They come with a very nice outhouse. I came down here, I thought that was the cabin. Thing's huge. Looks pretty new and nice too. One of the main reasons the state of Michigan created this wilderness area was to preserve the old growth forest here. It's one of the biggest in the central part of the country here, where it's never been forested. Trees have never been cut, and some of the trees in here are really cool. And to just give you an idea of how big these trees are, there's a tree over here that fell, and they had to cut it because it was blocking the trail. This tree is just huge. The bark is huge. It's probably about 3 feet across here in diameter. I've come to a spot in the trail where the map shows that I'm supposed to do a wet crossing. Not too difficult, but if you look down the river, there's a log across the river that I'm going to try to cross on. I think this trail, more than any trail I've ever been on, am I relying on the blazes and the trail markings to figure out where I'm going. With all the leaves on the ground and not a well-worn footpath, it's kind of hard to figure out where to go unless you're paying attention. These blue blazes are on the trees, so you come to a tree, you find the next blue blaze and you walk towards it. I've hiked 4 miles on the Big Carp Trail. I've come to the intersection with the Correction Trail. So I have about 5 miles to go on the Big Carp Trail, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this Correction Line Trail up to camp at Mirror Lake and then I'm going to backtrack tomorrow and finish the Big Carp. But for now, I'm going to stop. It's time for lunch. I made it down to Mirror Lake. It's a beautiful day. It's a little windy though. I've come to a T at the lake. I referred to my map, and it appears that my campsite is down that way. So I'm going to take a right here at the trail, and hopefully I'm going the right direction. So I came across another one of those cabins for rent. There are a few of them here on Mirror Lake. As you can see, there's a cabin up that direction. But the interesting part about this one is you get a canoe. So you can go out on the lake and go fishing. On the south side of Mirror Lake, there are 4 campsites labeled SML 1, 2, 3, and 4. I've reserved number 4 for tonight and tomorrow night. The first 3 are down along the lake. Pretty obvious. I kept on going past 3, going and going and going. I couldn't find a campsite. Came back to 3, saw a little trail going up the hill, and I came up to SML 4. So I'm not directly on the lake, but it's going to have to do. So when you get to the top of the hill, you can see there's a fire ring over here with a couple logs for benches. There's a nice flat tent pad over here, but I might note that there's a nice widowmaker, a huge cracked tree right next to it. I don't need a flat spot, so I'm going to set my hammock up over here. This is the first time that I've ever seen one of these out on the trail. It's a bear pole. The thought behind it is you use this little pole instead of hanging on a bear cable or hanging your food to keep it away from bears. You put this bear pole in, you hook your bag up on here, you lift it up onto the hook on the top here and hang your food. Pretty good idea. On day 3, I hiked north on the Mirror Lake Trail to Lake of the Clouds, then headed west on the Big Carp Trail before circling around on the Correction Line Trail back to camp. I took the North Mirror Lake Trail back up to Lake of the Clouds. It's raining, it's windy, and it's kind of cold out. But, you know, that's part of backpacking. But interesting thing is no matter how bad the weather is, there's always one crazy out there. There's a guy out canoeing on the lake. Well, it's cold, windy, and rainy out. It's still beautiful out here. You can see the Lake of the Clouds behind me and the fall colors. It's beautiful, but I gotta keep moving to stay warm. I'm walking west on the Big Carp Trail. I'm going down to where I hiked on the Big Carp yesterday. This section of trail is basically an extension of that Encarpment Trail. So if you like that, keep on going west on the Big Carp, and there are lots of nice views out here. like this. Really happy I have a nice warm dry hammock to sleep in, because the thought of walking through cold and rain like this and going back to a tent on the ground where you're cold and wet would be too much, and I would quit. But I'm not going to quit because I know I have a nice warm spot tonight. By the way, have I told you how much I love backpacking? Okay, I've come to another spot where the map says that there's a wet crossing, and this one looks a little bit more challenging. My feet are all wet and my shoes are all wet, so I don't mind a wet crossing, but this right here, it looks like it's about 3 or 4 feet deep. These logs are kind of causing a dam here. And I looked down the river here, and there's a log crossing down there. But the water is running over the log, and with these conditions, I'm afraid it might be too slippery. So I'm going to look up the river here a little bit. And it looks a little shallower right going across here. The problem is there's a big bank to get down to the water. So I'm going to explore and see if I can find a good way to cross over here. Okay, I was able to climb down this bank right here, and I'm going to try crossing the river here. This water is very cold. I'm being very careful with my footing, because if I fell down in this on such a cold day, that would not be good. So these rocks are super slippery. But at least it's not 3 or 4 feet deep like it is right down there where the obvious place to cross was. All right, made it across. My feet are kind of cold, so I'm gonna keep on walking, wearing the wool socks. They'll dry out quick. All right, I made it to the Correction Line Trail. This is where I ate lunch yesterday. I came from the Big Carp coming that way after I did the Superior Trail. So I have about 3 miles back to Mirror Lake, and then a little bit farther around to the campsite. And it is lunchtime, but given how cold and wet it is, I'm not going to stop for lunch. I have a little bit of momentum. I want to stay warm, so I'm just going to have some M&Ms and Disappointment, better known as trail mix. The nice part about having wet feet is you don't have to worry about going around mud. Like the Superior Hiking Trail, the Porcupine Mountain trails are quite muddy. This is not Mirror Lake. This is the trail, my friends. The good news is my feet are already wet. So, who cares? Whoa, she's a little deep. Never mind. Oh. Plan B. Going around. Oh, that's deep. I finished the Correction Line Trail. By the way, that is a terrible name for a trail. Sounds like prison, or you're being punished for something. Well, today maybe, you know. No, it wasn't that bad. So, yeah, I'm back down here on Mirror Lake. So I don't have too much farther back to camp. In fact, my hammock is right over on the other side of the lake. All right, so I came down from camp and I met some people, and I said to the guy, have I met you before? You look really familiar. And he started explaining to me that he has a YouTube channel.
Hello.
So this is Bob and Kathy.
Hello.
And the name of your channel is what again?
Up Trail 71.
Up Trail 71. So Bob and Kathy are kind of a big deal on YouTube. They have lots of subscribers, and we're kind of geeking out. He's met a lot of the people that I watch on YouTube. So they have a campfire going. It's pretty amazing that you got a campfire going.
Yeah, in this wet conditions.
Considering it rained all day. But it was nice meeting you, Bob.
Yes, nice meeting you.
On day 4, I hiked a short distance on the North Mirror Lake Trail before turning off on the Government Peak Trail that took me back to my car. Good morning, everyone. Got an early start this morning. Said goodbye to my new friends, Bob and Kathy. It was real nice hanging out with them at their campfire last night. But this morning I got an early start, packed up, made my way around Mirror Lake, took the North Mirror Lake Trail for a bit, crossed off onto the Government Peak Trail. I am now up to Government Peak, and there's a nice camp spot right up here on the top of the mountain. And there's a old foundation here of 4 piers. Oh, it looks like there's more. 4 piers, and it looks like this was the steps. So I'm guessing there used to be a tower up here. All right, took a little break, looked at my map, took a little clothes off because it's getting warm, and there's 5 miles to go. As my friend Lady Di says, the horse smells the barn. It's time to giddy up. Got my Swedish fish. Let's go. John Mural said, when out in nature, one gets far more than they seek. The state of Michigan, Porcupine Mountain Wilderness area, you delivered. You gave me more than I expected. I was worried about overcrowding with too many people and trails that were overly groomed. What you provided were a few people here and there, trails that had enough mud, were kind of hard to follow at times, but I don't say that despairingly. I loved it. Hey, if you like this video, go ahead and hit subscribe down here. Check out a couple other videos over here. And we'll see you out on the trail.